Inside Fighting. Welcome back to another weekly episode of Insider
Ooh.
Betting. This is our weekly show where we give you guys our best picks, our best predictions for whichever UFC event is on the way. This week we have UFC RIO. Charles Do Bronx Oliveira takes on Mateusz Gamrot in Rio de Janeiro. It's going to be an exciting main event. Some of these fights are like, whoa, how these fights get made? But this is the card. I'm excited. Another week following UFC 320, which was probably my favorite card of the year. Yes, it didn't have as many knockouts and as crazy moments as maybe a UFC Paris or other cards during this year, but that main card lived up to the hype. All those three main fights, trauma. But we'll get into UFC Rio because this fight card has some potential to make some bread. I think there's some good bets on here that I like, some fighters that I like. What are your thoughts about this card? And will you be watching?
Yeah, I'll probably watch feature fight onwards. The rest of the fights are kind of whatever. A lot of like nobodies on the main card. But a lot of Brazilians, obviously. I think Brazilians got a chance to sweep low key. I think that's happened on a couple cards though. But
It is funny to see we have a fight like Walter Walker versus Muhammad Usman being like the third fight on the card. And then we have like Lucas Almeida versus Michael Aswell as like the first fight on the main card, which doesn't make much sense to me. I feel like you could promote these other fighters who have more potential to grow in the company than like a Lucas Aswell, but I don't know. That's just me. Or Lucas Almeida. I've mixed up their names, Michael Aswell
yeah,
and Lucas
you
Almeida.
combined them.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
combined.
agree. I don't know why they got both of these guys. I think they think that there could be like a fun little finish. So maybe they're just trying to open it up with a pop. I don't know. But let's get into it and break some of these fights down. We're not starting there. Let's we got shit backwards here. Lucas Almeida taking on Michael Aswell, like we said, to open up the main card. Both of these guys actually lost their Contender Series fights by decision. I believe Michael Aswell lost it by a split decision. But then they won in a different promotion and then came back to make their UFC debuts. Lucas Almeida, he's coming off of a loss to Danny Silva. He lost by split decision and is currently 2-3 in the UFC, so not off to a hot start by any means. Michael Aswell, as I said, also coming off of a loss. He lost to Balaji Oki. I think it was also by decision. I could be wrong. I don't have that written down. But overall, both of these guys are actually pretty similarly styled fighters. They're both striking heavy with basically like no ground game. They have some decent takedown defense, but I don't think they'll need to use it at all here. But I think this fight will basically come down to who can keep putting the pressure on. Neither of them like fighting off their back, but you can see that they both have pretty decent volume for their striking. With Michael Aswell at like 9 strikes landed per minute, which is clearly just kind of weighed stat by his first couple fights there. Honestly, it's a 50-50 toss-up, but considering this fight's in Brazil and Michael Aswell doesn't have that much experience in the UFC, he's only got the one fight under his belt. Lucas Almeida's got 5. It's close enough where I'm going to give the hometown guy the advantage. I'm taking the underdog. I got Lucas Almeida winning this one. I think it's probably going to go to decision, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of surprised they give Michael Aswell the favorite spot here with Lucas Almeida being the Brazilian fighter opening up the main card. I think it's because, yes, he got knocked out in the first round against Andre Fili. He got submitted by Pat Sabatini, so they're kind of discrediting him. But if you look back at some of his fights, he does have a lot of striking output. He does put his foot on the gas. He is the one pushing the pace. So I do like him. I think he's going to be faster, quicker on the feet than Michael Aswell. I do see it staying on the feet. So, I mean, by a decision alone, I see him having the more output there. And he's a durable fighter, even though he did get knocked out by Andre Fili. He just kind of made a mistake by kicking the calf, and then he kicked the calf again. And then Andre Fili was like, okay, that opens up, and just knocked him out with an overhand right. So I feel like this is his coming out party in a sense. Like Lucas Almeida should be the one who has the better striking and is advancing the fight on the feet. So give me the underdog, Lucas Almeida, in his home crowd. I think it's the smart pick here. Michael Aswell, got to have a smart game plan, got to try and take him to the ground, kind of like Pat Sabatini did, but I don't think he'll be able. and he's got the height advantage. He's going to be hard to take down here. So give me Lucas Almeida in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Lucas Almeida also said that he's got like a bunch of family coming out and all that. Like he's making a big showing of it. Andre Fili and Pat Sabatini are actually two really solid opponents for that to be your first two fights in the UFC. Like that's tough looks. And he's not the first guy to tap to Pat Sabatini, and he's not the first guy to get knocked out by Andre Fili, you know? So
there you go. Yeah.
I think that's fair game. Next up, we have Ricardo Ramos taking on Con Olfi. Con Olfi sucks. No.
What an exciting banger of a fight right here.
Yeah, this fight's gonna suck, dude. But both of these guys, they're coming off of losses to Joshua Kulibao and Muhammadjon Naimov, respectively. Ramos, he's a pretty well-rounded fighter. Before I get into that, neither of these guys have had any success in the UFC, really. Ramos, he's the much more experienced fighter. He's 8-6 in the UFC. So he's got fights under his belt. He can just never catch a win streak. He's never climbing his way up the rankings. He's just doing enough to stay and not get booted from the UFC, basically. And then Con Olfi, he's 0-2. He's on the chopping block, you know, loses one or two more. I don't think he's going to be in the UFC too much longer. Like I was saying, Ramos, he's pretty well-rounded. He'll pick his shots. You can see he's got pretty low volume because he'll mix it up on the ground as well. He averages 2.5 takedowns per fight. I can definitely see him trying to do some of that this fight as well. Con Olfi, he doesn't have much going for him. He's got low volume output. He doesn't have offensive takedowns, but what he does have is he can control the pace a little bit. He likes to tie up the clinch. He likes to hold you up against the cage. He just can't get you down to the ground, and you just kind of waste time in there. If he has enough control time, we saw it with Ankalaev against Pereira, where he got the win with control time. Maybe Con Olfi can get the same done here. But I don't see it happening. He has the decent submission game. Like he's got 5 subs in his 11 wins. So pretty solid there. But if he's not taking it to the ground, there's no chance for a submission, right? I got Ricardo Ramos winning by decision. I don't like Con Olfi at all. I think he had some hype coming into the UFC, if I remember correctly, but he hasn't lived up to it.
I'd probably fade betting on this one. I kind of feel the exact same way that you feel about it. I feel like Ricardo is better on the feet. He should be the pick here. He is the Brazilian fighter. Had more experience in the UFC as well. But Con Olfi, his last fight, who was it against? It was against Muhammad Naimov. And I remember watching that fight. It was a competitive fight. He lost, but I mean, he showed durability in that fight. Where I think Muhammad Naimov against Ricardo Ramos would take Ricardo Ramos. He would dominate Ricardo Ramos with the wrestling, with the takedowns, and Con Olfi made that fight competitive, which makes me feel like he'll make this fight competitive. Yeah. And if he does that, he could definitely win a split decision. All the money's probably on Ricardo Ramos. There's 0-2 fighter in the UFC. You don't want to be betting that. Like, it's so unpredictable. But part of me does want to start winning on this show against your picks. And I feel like I do want to pick Con Olfi in this one. Gets the upset in Brazil. Like you said earlier to start the show, you feel like the Brazilians might take this whole card, and you could be onto something there. But I think Con Olfi, with the dominant ground game, the pressure, I think he gets him up against the cage. I think he finds his way to a takedown or two in the first round, in the second round. And if he does that, he wins the decision. Some might say robbery. Some might say upset of the card. Con Olfi, comeback spot, kind of. That's where I'm leaning in this one. Shouldn't win. Big reach advantage for Ricardo Ramos. He's taller. He's got the reach. He's better at striking. But also in his last 5 fights, I think he's only landed like 75 strikes.
Yeah.
So somebody as frustrating as Con Olfi can be with the grappling and the pressure. It's going to be tricky for him to get off his strikes. And so I'm going with the grueling pressure of Con Olfi, 0-2 in the UFC. I don't know how grueling it's going to be, but that's how I see it going.
Yeah, it's fair game. And I know I started this show by saying that the Brazilians might get the sweep here. I actually take that back. I'm looking at my picks right now, and I only have one more Brazilian fighter winning after the first 2. I'm gonna let y'all figure it out as the show goes on, though. Next up, we got a nice little heavyweight matchup with Jonata Denise taking on Mario Pinto.
This is a banger.
This is a banger.
This is a banger. I
This
like
could be a banger.
Could be.
I'll explain.
Right,
they're both coming off wins. Jonata Denise, he beat Alvin Hines. I think that one went to decision. I think Alvin Hines tested positive for steroids after the fight as well.
Yeah.
So maybe that made it a little bit tougher to knock him out. So I'll give it to Jonata Denise there. But that win came after he got knocked out by Marcin Tybura in the fight before that. So he has a loss under his belt. With Mario Pinto, he's coming off of his debut win against Austin Lane. Both of these guys have beaten Austin Lane by knockout. So that's the only fight you can kind of compare for the two of them. They're actually both pretty decently technical strikers for the heavyweight division. They pick their shots. They're not going to go for the knockout right from the get-go. I think we will see this fight go on a little bit longer than we think we will. I think the over-under on rounds is like 1.5, and I see it being at least that. DZ in the chance, who we slamming, boys? But we're gonna be slamming Mario Pinto on this fight. He's the underdog. I don't know how confident I feel about it, because I think Jonata Denise is really, really good, and it's in Brazil. But this fight can be either really exciting and end in a knockout, or it could be a little bit more decision or a little bit more boring and go to decision, because both of these guys are just kind of waiting to counter strike, because that's kind of both of their styles, you know? So that's why it could either be a banger or a fucking snoozer for a heavyweight fight. It also feels like it's a bit of a fraud check fight for both of these guys. Not that they're fighting against good opponents, but they're two up-and-comers in the heavyweight division. So I think what the UFC is trying to do is like, yo, let's put these up-and-comers against each other. Whoever wins deserves to kind of keep trying to climb their way up the rankings, you know, and start pushing towards the top 15. I like Mario Pinto. I think it's a bit of a toss-up, like the other two fights have been so far. But I don't know. I've never been super hot on Jonata Denise. Mario Pinto, I liked in his last fight, so I got him. But obviously, you got a 10-0 guy. He's only had one fight in the UFC. We've seen these guys get losses after losses in 2025. All these guys with zeros just keep losing. So it could happen again. But I think he's going to keep the streak alive. I think he's going to go 2-0 in the UFC.
This great breakdown, by the way. Great breakdown.
Love Here, 1 second, real quick. DZ in the chat. When do you guys go live? I'm putting the live notice on. I appreciate that, brother. We go live at 3 p.m. Central every single Thursday, and then Cody goes live every Saturday for kind of like the end of the prelims. So 3 p.m. Central is like 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So no, I appreciate the support, bro.
My guy DZ. All right, these are my favorite kind of shows, because, you know, UFC 320, we're all on the same page. Predictable fights, predictable winners. But this card, it's like, ooh, kind of a toss-up. This guy might win. This guy might win. And I'm going to be going against you again here. I think Jonata Denise is maybe the more technical striker on the feet. Yes, Mario Pinto is really good, but he typically fights with his hands down, and his only defense on the feet really is swaying his head back like this. He kind of does a lot of this in his fights. And for somebody like Denise, who's going to be on his front foot, kind of fights like Sean Strickland in a way. He's going to walk you down. He's going to sharp jab up the middle. It's going to be hard for Mario Pinto and he always has his hand up to land that big right hand that's going to knock him out. I think the output's going to be more with Denise. I think he's going to be the one pressuring. I also think he has sharper striking defense, which is going to be big in this one. I think there's value on Denise here. He should be a bigger favorite, but because Mario Pinto is undefeated and he went to a decision against Alvin Hines, there goes my poster. Forget about it. But because he went to a decision against Alvin Hines is the reason that I think he's not that big of a favorite in this one. And because Mario Pinto is the bigger prospect. Everybody wants to see Mario Pinto be this next guy, but Diaz has a background in glory. He has a great striking arsenal. He's really good. I'm going to lean Denise in this one. I think he could even get a knockout in this one, upset the prospect. We've seen it time and time again with Derek Lewis against Taliesin Teixeira. We've seen Austin Lane fraud check. What was his face? He fraud checked somebody coming off of a contender series as well. And then he went to karate combat and started doing really good there. But I think this is one of those spots, especially at heavyweight. Mario Pinto is going to show us that he has to have a chin, that he can get hit. that he is durable. So this is a big test for Mario Pinto. I see it as a big test in Rio, out of his home crowd. It's going to be tough for him to get a win here. It's going to be tougher for Mario Pinto, I think, than Denise to stick to his game plan and do what he does. He's more experienced. Give me Denise if I'm betting. I think there's value there, but I wouldn't be mad if Mario Pinto wins, continues his win streak, and shoots up into the heavyweight division, because the heavyweight, like we always say, this division needs more guys, more talented big guys to kind of get around. So I wouldn't be mad if Mario Pinto wins. I'm not mad that you picked him, but I do think Denise is the better fighter.
Yeah. And you know what? By the way, the guy you're talking about is Rebellis de Spain, that Austin Lane project. Yes. But I'm kind of upset with the UFC for putting these guys up against each other so early. I get what they're doing, but they're the two hottest prospects in the heavyweight division right now. So it's like, honestly, like Mario Pinto, I get it. It's only a second fight. Give him a smaller fighter. Jonathan Denise, yeah, he lost to Marcin Tybura. Give him another top 15 guys. It's not like the top 15 guys in the heavyweight division are like that, like much better than everyone else. It's like the heavyweight division's kind of built where like the top 5 are like elite, and then everyone else you can like swap them around and like it still makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think both of these guys have good careers in the heavyweight division, though, win or lose.
But you agree it's a hard test for Mario?
I think it's a hard test for both, but definitely a harder test for Mario. He's fighting against a higher volume guy. He's fighting against a guy who's hard to hit. He's fighting in the guy's home country. I think it's 100% a tough fight. The problem for Mario Pinto is that he gets hit a lot. The problem for Jonathan Denise is that when Mario Pinto swings, he tends to land, you know? So you got one guy who's better defensively. You got the other guy who's better offensively. Like Mario Pinto's got a 71% significant strikes landed percentage, you know, like that's high. You don't see that often.
Pinto really does kind of remind me of like a style bender at heavyweight. Like the way he fights, it's very it's very good. But Denise is like kind of the weakness. Sean Strickland, the guy who's going to walk you down and shoot those strong jabs. Like the jab from Denise is stronger than Pinto. Pinto doesn't really have a sharp jab that he sticks to. He kind of sticks to these wild overhand rights and lefts, and I just think the output will be too much.
100%. Featured fight of the night, we got Vicente Luque taking on Joel Alvarez. What do we got going on here? Vicente Luque, he's definitely the fan favorite. A lot of people like him. He's currently alternating wins and losses in his last 5. He's 2-3, and he's coming up with a loss to Kevin Holland. He's extremely well-rounded. You can see it in the stats we have up on screen. He's really good on his feet. He's a very powerful striker as well. He's got 11 knockouts in his 23 wins. But he can also mix it up on the ground. In those 23 wins, he also has 9 submission wins. So out of 23, he's got 20 finishes. Pretty crazy stat, because 20 finishes in 23 fights is impressive. Joel Alvarez, on the other hand, he's got 22 finishes and 22 wins. He's got a 100% finish rate when he wins. I think one of his 3 losses went to decision, and then the other 2, I think he got knocked out. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's right. Coming into the UFC, Joel Alvarez actually only had 1 knockout, and the rest of his wins were by submission. Since then, he's had 7 wins in the UFC. 4 of them have been by knockout. So he shows us that he got a ton of power in his hands, but if you take him to the ground, he can also fuck around on there. The thing with Joel Alvarez, he'll never take you to the ground. He got 0 takedowns in his 9 UFC fights. But I think the stat is that I saw, it was 6 guys in the UFC have taken him down, and he's beaten 4 of them. So he doesn't have to take you to the ground to beat you on the ground. He prefers to keep it on his feet, and when he's down there, he's looking for the sub. Vicente Luque, he's been back for a little bit. He had a loss his 5 fights ago. He fought against Jeff Neal. He got knocked out. He got a hematoma, I think is what it's called, in his brain, which is basically like internal bleeding in your brain, which is not good. And when you go up against a guy like Joel Alvarez, not good.
Fair. Yeah,
he's super dangerous. I I don't see a way for Vicente Luque to win here. Unfortunately, I think Joe Alvarez is 5-1 favorite, almost 6-1 favorite for a reason. I think the odds makers all over it. It's a tough one for Vicente Luque, but Joel Alvarez, he's finishing guys left and right, and I think he's going to get it done again. Although Vicente Luque does have the better resume for the most part. Joel Alvarez has a loss against Arman Tsarukyan, which is obviously a great resume builder there. But yeah, I see this fight going badly for Vicente Luque, unfortunately.
Yeah, great breakdown, bro. Like you said everything that I wish I could have said. But I agree. It's funny how just the change in opponent could sway the odds so much. I feel Vicente Luque was supposed to fight Santiago Ponzinibbio on this card, and I feel like he would have been a favorite in that fight. He's a little bit older,
100%.
Ponzinibbio. He probably was like, oh, I could walk him down, maybe get a knockout. This is Joel Alvarez. You're not going to walk down this guy and get a knockout win here.
No.
And now the odds totally swayed to where he's a big underdog. No faith in the bookers and no faith in me as well. I would have loved to pick Vicente Luque. I like him as a fighter. I feel like everybody does. He's been around for so long. He is a vet. Probably is going to be a future Hall of Famer. Maybe not. We'll see. But he is that good. But Joel Alvarez, I feel like there's a Spain card potentially that could be building up here in the future as well with Ilia Topuria, and I'm sure he wants to be on that. And a huge knockout win over Vicente Luque might get him on the main card in that fight card. So I feel like he needs this spot. Needs to go to Rio de Janeiro in a difficult not enemy territory. Is Vicente Brazilian?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, he is? Yeah, so he's going in enemy territory. He's got to prove himself here, and then he'll get that home crowd advantage in Spain maybe in his next fight. So I do see Joel Alvarez probably winning by another knockout here. He's just so crazy on the feet. He throws these crazy kicks. He throws these crazy knees, elbows. Just really good striking. He looks amazing on the feet, where Vicente Luque past his prime in his striking. His speed won't be there. His power won't be there against Joel Alvarez. So
yeah,
if it goes to the ground, like you said, it's not even really that big of a problem because Joel Alvarez has gotten taken down and had wins in those scenarios. So I feel confident in Joel Alvarez. There's really no money to be made on picking him, kind of like that Atimba Gutierrez fight on last week's card. Really no value picking these guys who are destined to win. This is a destined spot for Joel Alvarez. I'm sure he got super excited that he gets to put Vicente Luque on his resume here at welterweight. Was Joel Alvarez actually a lightweight fighter before this, though? Is this his welterweight debut? I think that might be true.
I think you might be right. I'm going to look it up right now.
So he's going to be a little bit bigger, I believe. Just looking at his last fight against, it was at lightweight. So he is a lightweight fighter moving up to welterweight now. So I believe he's going to be a little bit bigger. We got homie in the
we got David in the chat being like 100% Joel by KO. I love that. I think knockout is the pick. If you're gonna go and bet on this fight, let me see.
You gotta go knockout. You gotta root for the knockout and just let's go when he gets the knockout, because if you're betting Vicente Luque and he gets knocked out, you're just gonna be crying, staying up all night, being like, why did I donate that bet to the bookies? Joel Alvarez, true prospect, gonna probably go main card on the Spain card with Ilia Topuria in the future. Quickly, off topic, who's Ilia Topuria gonna fight, man? Like really, like we got Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan
Didn't they say Justin Gaethje?
There's rumors of Justin Gaethje at MSG, but I don't think that's going to happen. Like, what's up with Patty? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I could see, because I think Justin said it's title fight or retire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I feel like they might just do it because they want Patty to fight one more guy. Like Patty doesn't feel like he's title ready yet either. You know, he's there on the cusp, but there's something that doesn't scream like he deserves it. So they might just do it as like a little nostalgic moment. Let Ilia knock out another Hall of Famer.
But that's the thing with that fight. Nobody going into that fight is like, oh, what's gonna happen? Oh, Ilia's gonna get tested. We finally get to see him get tested. Like not against
the chat.
Patty, maybe against Arman.
Yeah. But IG chat is saying Justin in January, Justin 100%. Yeah, I'd like to see it. I think it's still a fun fight. I don't see a way for Justin to win. But Fun
Yeah,
to watch, I
me
guess.
either. I guess he really is
Um,
the legend killer or whatever his new nickname is.
yeah, literally. Joe Alvarez by knockout is like barely plus money. It's plus 140. By submission, it's plus 165. Like those aren't even worth betting, I feel like.
I feel like the knockout you could put in a few parlays. Like, why not? Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna happen. I feel so. Might as
Yeah.
well, especially with that hematoma you mentioned that was in his
You
inside his.
know what? Like I feel heavy on the knockout, but I feel like because everyone's gonna be heavy on the knockout, I think Vicente Luque's plan is into this fight is just gonna be like grapple, grapple, grapple.
Yeah,
Because he knows he's got the ability to get knocked out again. So I feel like he's gonna try to avoid being on the feet. And that's why I'm like, maybe a submission comes into play here. Because if they're always on the ground, then Joel Alvarez is just gonna find his way eventually.
true.
Yeah. Next up, though, co-main event: Davison Figueiredo taking on Montel Jackson in Rio de Janeiro. As we all know, Figgy had his run in the flyweight division. He was the champ at one point, and eventually he just felt like he couldn't kind of climb his way back up. Pantoja was in there for a while, still is. And he lost to Brandon Moreno. So anyway, went to the bantamweight division. He started off hot. He started off 3-0 in the bantamweight since moving up. And then he lost his next two fights, or his last two fights. He lost to Corey Sandhagen and he lost to Peter Yan. I think he got knocked out against Corey, or maybe it was like an injury decision or something like that.
Yeah, he got his knee.
He got a knee popped, right? Something like that.
Yeah, it was bad.
And he went to decision with Peter Yan. But since moving up, Figgy's been hammering away at the takedowns. He's got 11 takedowns in his 5 fights at bantamweight. And at first glance, these odds seem like super wide. And the more you look at it, the more it kind of becomes fair. But it's also like it still feels a little too wide because like Figgy has the much better name on his resumes, or his resumes just got much better names on them, right? Where Montel Jackson, he hasn't really fought anyone significant. Like his last 5 wins are against Daniel Marcos, Damon Blackshear, Rani Yaya, Julia Ars, and JP Buys. Like he really hasn't been anyone significant. And he's gone to decision with a couple of those no names as well. And I think some of them aren't even in the UFC. But he's 9-2. He's been just like slowly racking up wins, which is something that we always say that some of these guys should be doing more of. Some of these guys get pushed into the big boys right off the bat. But it feels like Montel Jackson is making too big of a jump here. Like he goes from fighting absolutely no ones to all of a sudden fighting Figgy. Montel Jackson basically has everything on Figgy at this point. Like Figgy's just old, right? Now, so he's slower. You got Montel Jackson. He's younger. He's faster. He's taller. He's more powerful. He's got really good wrestling. He averages more takedowns. He's got better takedown defense. Like all around, he should be better. But he was taken down 2 or 3 times against Daniel Marcos, and like, who the fuck is that guy? And all Figgy does has been taking down guys in bantamweights. So like it could be, I think a lot of people are looking as a wrestling advantage for Montel Jackson, but I don't know if that advantage is as big as we think it is. And then, yeah, I don't know. It feels like Montel Jackson should get the win. It feels like he should be the lock, but you can't count Figgy out, I don't think. It's a tough one. The fight's in Brazil. He has the experience. He can slow the fight down. I think it's going to go a little bit longer than we expect. It might even go to decision. Montel Jackson should win. He's going to be my pick, but like I'm super not confident on it at all. Like I see a way for an upset to happen, And I just if Montel Jackson has been some bigger names, fought some bigger names, then I'll give him that advantage. But like you're going up against a really good, experienced fighter, and you haven't fought anyone with that type of experience at all in the UFC.
Yeah, Montel Jackson, like you said, like really, he has this one big knockout win I remember over Damon Blackshear, but I'm just going to quickly take a pick. How many more knockouts does he have? He went to a decision with Daniel Marcos, had that big knockout against Damon Blackshear, knockout against Rani Yaha, and then he typically goes to decision. He has some. It's either first round knockout or decision with the Montel Jackson, and he's not going to get a first round knockout here against Figgy, I don't think.
I mean, he could. He's got such a reach on him and such a height advantage that if he just puts the pressure on, he can really get it going.
Honestly, which yeah, brings me to my next point. This is the biggest spot in his career, but like Figgy kind of on a decline right now. He went into that Peter Yan fight, going into that being like, if I win this fight against Yan, I'll probably get a title fight in bantamweight because I am 3-0. I am knocking these guys down. Loses that fight, fights Corey Sandhagen, doesn't look good in that fight at all. Gets it taken down, gets his knee ripped apart. Coming off of that injury to somebody who is as deadly as Montel Jackson with huge range, huge height advantage. I don't think his will to win is there anymore. I think this could be the fight that either retires him or sends him to back to featherweight. I do see him maybe going back to featherweight because these guys, he's going to big reality check if you lose to get knocked out by Montel Jackson, who's way bigger than you, way longer reach. Yes, he has a speed advantage. Yes, he's a former champ, but I do think Montel Jackson's the pick here. I do see him outstriking Figgy. If it goes to a decision, I don't care. I think he's going to outstrike Figgy. And the power and the size and the reach, the knockout play might be the play here. I honestly think the upset knockout from Montel Jackson, not necessarily an upset because he is the favorite, but I mean, if you knock out a former champ, this is going to put you into the top 10. So big opportunity for Montel Jackson, huge spot. He hasn't had the lights on him shine this bright before in his career. Let's see how he does with this opportunity, huge opportunity. I think he cashes in, though. I think he gets the knockout.
Yeah, I think so too.
Early would be surprising, but second, third round, I think he could find it.
It could happen. It could happen. Main event, the one we've been waiting for. Charles Oliveira taking on Mateusz Gamrot. Charles been alternating wins and losses for his last few fights here. Got losses against Ilya Topuria, Arman Sarukian, Islam Makhachev. Then he's got wins against Beneil Dariush and Michael Chandler. Tough losses for Charles. Expected losses though. Those are tough guys to fight. And it was sad to see him lose. Then you got Mateusz Gamrot. He's coming off of a win against Ludwig Klein. He's got a loss against Dan Hooker in his last 5 as well, where he took him down 5 times, but still lost a split decision by getting outstruck by 1 strike. So a bit of an interesting one there. Those takedowns didn't mean nothing. It's an interesting fight. I want Charles to win. I think he's going to win. Charles has the striking advantage. He's the submission king when it comes down to it. Mateusz Gamrot, he's going to hammer the takedowns. He's got, in his last 3 fights, he's got 22 takedowns. And he's going to keep doing it. But the problem is he can't keep these guys down. That's why he's got 6 takedowns, 5 takedowns, and 11 takedowns in those 3 fights. And I think when that happens, you're opening up your back. You have the potential for Charles to get it. And if Charles gets your back, you're cooked. We'll see what happens. I do think that Charles might need to get the finish here to get the win, because if Gamrot keeps hammering the takedowns, he might just be racking up the scorecards and winning a few rounds. I am pretty confident in Charles to win here, though. I got Charles winning. I don't know how he could win a decision still if he lands enough strikes and does some stuff on the ground. But yeah, I think Oliveira should be a lock for this one, and I'd love to see him back in the win column because it's been a while.
Do Bronx back in Rio de Janeiro, where he is undefeated, 17-0 in Rio. So big. He's aura farming over there.
I didn't even know that stat. That's a crazy stat.
Yeah,
17-0 in Rio.
They're doing like their little open workouts and stuff, and he's coming down the elevator and he's literally just aura farming with his shades. He takes them off, the whole crowd just booing Mateusz Gamrot out of his mind. So he is a big favorite over there. Everybody loves him, fan favorite. I like this kind of matchup, although he didn't seem too stoked about getting Mateusz Gamrot as his short notice replacement fight from Fiziev. Because he was like, I kind of want more of a striker. I was training for a striker, and now you're giving me a grappler. When my camp, I was training for this. Now I got to deal with this kind of like grueling grappling pressure. Because Mateusz Gamrot against Ludwig Klein, he just kind of Hamzatted him. He just took him down and laid on him and got the win. So he does have that ability, not against Charles do Bronx, man. Charles do Bronx will not allow him to have that fight style. This kind of reminds me of Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira and what happened in that. Charles do Bronx gets the win. So I'm leaning with Charles do Bronx. I like him a lot in this fight. I don't necessarily think he was scared of getting the Mateusz Gamrot fight. I just think he wanted somebody maybe higher up with more striking, who is more fun of a fighter than Gamrot, because I do think Charles is going to be wanting to strike here, and Mateusz Gamrot's going to be the one engaging, trying to take him down and get him clinched up. And Charles will probably look at the crowd and be like, "Boo this man for grappling me against the cage." I like Dubronx, though. I think he could even maybe guillotine him when he's in on one of these takedowns. I see a sneaky gilly from Charles. I like submission from Charles. It's a 25-minute fight. I think he could find a submission. Similar to one of the fights we broke down on this card, if Mateusz Gamrot's just constantly against Vicente Luque. But if Mateusz Gamrot's just taking this to the ground, Charles Oliveira is deadly on the ground.
Yeah.
And he could find a submission off his back. He's good at that. So I like Dubronx bounce back. We do have to mention this is kind of like not even 4 months since getting knocked out from Ilia Topuria. So we'll see how he bounces back from kind of taking a fight so quickly. We do see fighters after they get knocked out take like a year and a half off. Dubronx is getting right back in there. He seems confident. And I think this matchup favors Charles more than people are thinking.
We got David in the chat saying Charles being knocked out recently is putting me off. I think Gamrot finishes him, and he goes, I think it ends Gamrot by finish. If it wasn't Mateusz Gamrot, I'd be like, yeah, Charles could get finished.
Exactly, right?
But like with a 50% finish rate, when you're only hammering down the takedowns, sure, you had the knockout against Fazeev, but like then you got to go all the way back to like 2021 where you got a knockout with his knee against Diego Ferreira. I just don't see a finish happening. He's too much of a boring, safe fighter to go for the finish. He's just going to hammer the takedowns, try to have control time. I don't know if he's going to be looking for a finish against Charles. Maybe, considering Charles been finished recently a couple of times, maybe. But like, no, like Gamrot.
Dan Hooker put the hands on Mateusz Gamrot, and like everybody thought Michael Chandler was going to put the hands on Charles Oliveira, and they just ended up grappling the whole time. So like I feel like this is a similar matchup to where Mateusz Gamrot's just going to have to grapple with Charles, because Charles is down to strike. He wanted to fight a striker. He wants to bounce back from that knockout. He wanted to strike with Ilia Topuria. Wrong decision. But you could strike with Mateusz Gamrot. You don't have to be scared. We'll see if if that knockout really did have an effect on Charles. But I mean, these two are similar in age. Let's not count out Charles. He has the fight experience. And Mateusz is taking this on short notice. Let's also mention that. Like, he only had a 3-week training camp for this fight. He hasn't been in the gym dialed as much as Charles. Charles got knocked out and immediately got back in the gym. This is huge for him in front of his family, in front of his home crowd. If he does lose here, he probably will start having those thoughts of retirement creep into his mind. But he says he's not thinking about that. He wants Max Holloway next for the BMF belt. I see him winning here. I see that fight getting booked for the White House, honestly. Charles Dubronx versus Max Holloway for the BMF belt.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
And I'm just going to mention, nobody wants Mateusz Gamrot to win and fight Max Holloway. Nobody wants the BMF belt to be somebody who's just going to wrestle fuck you. Mateusz Gamrot, respect for him taking this fight, but he's not a BMF. He's not a future champ, in my opinion. Great wrestling. Wrestling could carry you into the championship position, but nobody wants to see those champions who just grapple and grapple and grapple. It just makes sense for Charles to win here. I think he finds the sub. I think he gets a finish over Gamrot and goes fight Max Holloway.
Yeah, I agree on the same page here. Next week, we have UFC in Vancouver. We're coming home, baby. We're both Canadians. So that'll be exciting. I don't know if either of us will be there, but you got RDR taking on Brendan Allen in the main event there. RDR is obviously trying to make his way up to fight for the middleweight belt. His chances were looking good when it was against Fluffy, but Brendan Allen, I don't think, is going to get you a title fight at this point. You got Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott. For the co-main, Marlon Vera versus Eamon Zahabi, Manon Ferro versus Jasmine Jasudavicius.
Jasudavicius or whatever her name is. Yep, great fighter.
I'll give it to you. Yeah, that'll be a good fight as well.
Mike Malott.
Cody Gibson's on that one, who I actually got a chance to see at UFC Edmonton, which was cool. So a lot of Canadian guys and a lot of frequent Canadian or fighters who just fight in Canada, it seems like, on that card. But should be a decent one. We're live every Thursday, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Cody's gonna go live this Saturday to break down the fights live, or to watch them live. I guess there's no just seeing what the fuck happens. So tune in to watch. TikTok chat goes pretty crazy for Cody on Saturdays, so definitely go in. Usually about 80 to 100 people watching, so it's pretty solid. But yeah, no, appreciate you all joining. We'll see you all next week.
Do Bronx, let's go,
Bronx, baby.
Oh.